Guys, and so I did this week. Yeah, did absolutely phenomenal. Look, this is my best round ever. Finishing the top 1,000 this round, and I went up almost 9,000 spots in the rankings. And this has been a massive turnaround this past month. Round 4 was like 56,000, and now it's just phenomenal. This past month, no one performed poorly this week in my side other than one player, which we'll get to in a minute. But we'll start off with Luke Ryan, 111, just a standard game. It was actually a little bit below par based on this year's performance. But we'll take that if that's one of his lower games. Yeah, that's great. I'm considering had a slow start to the game, but picked up later in the game. And then you've got Dacos, 147, so he's back to his best. Had a bit of a slow start to the season. Had one really poor game, but he's bounced back well. And then Nick Martin, 83, a little disappointing. Did all right, fantasy, dream team wise, but Supercoach wise, not that great. Considering, Essendon won, you thought he would have a bit more impact, or at least get over 100. It's not a huge deal. I believe that might be his second lowest score of the season. Could be wrong. But yeah, look, that's one of his weaker performances. We'll take that. And Sheasel, 86. So that's 2 weeks in a row. He's gone below the ton, which is a bit disappointing. But most people, have Harry Sheasel, or at least people who take Supercoach seriously, will have him. So we all lose on that. It's not a huge deal. I think Clarkson's just fiddling around with North Melbourne's side with the role, and he's still fairly young as well, so he's not going to, still got some room to grow. And we've got Whitfield, got 100. It's one of only 2 DWS players to get over 100, and we'll speak about the other player in a minute who did. So it wasn't Whitfield's best game. A lot better than last week though. GWS weren't particularly that great after quarter time. I'm just glad, it wasn't a disaster game for Whitfield. I think last week was, more of the ground didn't suit him, the SCG. It was a wet game at the SCG, and he's more of an outside runner, not a contestant ball type player. So he's always going to struggle in the SCG, which is a fairly small oval, which wouldn't suit long endurance runners like Whitfield, and plus it was a wet game, so it's not going to be that as much clean ball compared to most other matches. So I think last week was a bit of a one-off in comparison to every other game this season for Whitfield. So we'll take 100. I mean, it's not the best score ever, but it's definitely not the worst. And if that's his average, we'll take it. And then Clozzy, 105, happy with his performance. So he's bounced back, and he's going to be probably in my side for at least another week based on that performance, because he was looking to be a trade out this week. But he's still in for now. So I'm happy with that, because that was another selection that was going to be, he might perform poorly, and if they take him out after multiple weeks in a row underperforming. But he bounced back, and I took that risk with North Melbourne. Okay, we'll just take the gamble. And most people did. They're playing North Melbourne. It's likely they're going to have more of the ball, going to dominate Gold Coast. And that's exactly what happened. And then we've got Drappy here. So he's gone up very slow in price, but one of the biggest slow burns of the season. I mean, look, he's just going to be as an emergency loophole option for the buy, unless there's a couple good rookie defenders that are coming along, which really hasn't happened. There's no point getting rid of him because this hasn't generated enough cash, and he just has an emergency option, I guess, just in case if something happens here. These top 6 defenders, I think Reid hopefully will come back in a few weeks' time too, which would be great not only for cash generation but for another player to help me with the buys. We'll see on that though, because it's not particularly an easy side to get into at the moment. The Essendon side we're performing well, but he should, come back in once he's ready. And then we've got Sarong, 150. Great performance from him, considering how bad Freo were with their shot accuracy, which was probably more their goal kicking in the midfield, to be honest. They got enough entries to win the game. Freo was just their goal kicking let them down. Swans did well with their goal kicking. Well, Freo didn't, and that was the main difference. It's a wrong 150. That'd been good if you took him as a VC option. And I took Gorn as a safer option. But it looks like Sarong has a high season average now. Gorn's had a couple of poor weeks now, which we'll get to in a minute. And I took the captain as Bont 135, which was the safest option. But I mean, with this game, a lot of Bulldogs players contributed well. We were expecting Richmond to get smashed, maybe not by by that particular margin of 80, 90 points, maybe about a 10-goal loss, but it was an even contribution with the Bulldogs, and that's the reason why they performed well on the weekend. You didn't have, one single player completely, carry the side. You had Richards who did extremely well. You had Bont did well. You had Chirul did well. You had Darcy had a bunch of players. A lot of them got over 100 points. And it's sort of all you want from a side. If you have multiple players get over 100 points, your chances are you're going to be in the winning dominant side. I mean, 135 will take it. Ideally, I was aiming for 150 plus since they were playing, Richmond. And he wasn't far off it. I mean, it would have been good if it, had VC on Sarong or Butters. I mean, look, I would have only lost 15 points, and it's not a huge deal. And I got to Merritt, 101. It was actually the worst performing midfielder this week that I have on the field. So, good thing this week, all my midfielders got over 100, which I'm happy with. There was no, garbage performances. So I brought in Merritt this week. I just thought, okay, they've got a few easy games coming up with North Melbourne or Richmond. That could potentially be, 150 plus scoring performance. 150 points incoming, I reckon. That's the potential that I can see with Merritt. I could be wrong. It could be a struggle. Could only be a couple goal win to Essendon. Or it could be a 10-goal win. It could be an even spread, which I reckon it might actually be in the coming weeks. So Merritt, 101. I mean, look, if that's one of his lowest scores of the season, we'll take it. We had a few other players who stepped up this week, which was good. It wasn't a one-man army. So I guess, it also depends as well how, I guess, to get the other midfielders in the game as well. It's not just a Merritt show. Try to get some of the other midfielders some more mid-time minutes like Perkins, and you still got Setterfield and Shield, which could potentially come in too. So you got a lot of B, C graders as well in the Essendon side that are looking to get their slot in the midfield too. And you've got Butters here, who I traded in as well. And that looks like to be an excellent move. I always wanted Butters the last couple of weeks, but just haven't decided which week to do it. And look, if you had him as a VC option, which a few people did, you'd be laughing. It was one of the reasons why I parlayed one in the end. He performed well. I'm happy with that trade-in. And then we've got Dawson here, 142, which I'm happy with as well. He had a great last quarter. I think he got about 50 points in last quarter, roughly. And performed really pretty good for the whole game as well. So, almost helped Adelaide got over the line. He sort of was almost a match winner in the end. Him and Rankin did well. And Crouch as well. So look, Dawson seems to steady the last month now. He's been all right. Had a crap start to the season, but the last month he sort of helped my side come back as well, because he was looking to be a trade out or it was a bit too late, but he's just bounced back well, which is good for not only for cash gen or just to maintain his price, just in case of other people jump on board with him. So we'll happy with that. And then we've got Miller, 122. Didn't go as high as what I thought he would. He was going all right, but he sort of steadied. The last quarter wasn't particularly that great. But we'll take a 122, although it was against North, so I was hoping for 130, 140 Flanders didn't go particularly that great either by comparison to his stands of the season. I think Real did poor as well. So it wasn't again, it was even spread with Gold Coast for this particular match. You were expecting Real to dominate as well, because I was hoping he might get a 150, 160, which will put me at a disadvantage compared with those people who have him, but it's not the case. I sort of want him around the midfield, but I think just have to wait and see with Real. But look, I'll take 122. Look, would I like 130, 140 because it was against North? Yes, but just because they're playing a weak side and they don't, and the team wins by 10 goals, you're not going to get that 140 plus score, which is what we want. It's more likely, but sometimes that doesn't happen. And then we've got Sam Walsh, who had a good start, but sort of died down a little bit in the second half, sort of like Carlton. 119 is okay. That's his season average. We'll take it. I was hoping for about a 140, a 150 score, but a lot of people have Walsh anyway, so it's not a huge deal. Unless you have him as a VC option, you probably want him at least 130 plus, at the bare minimum. Then we go to Tom Green, 116. One of the other only, him and Whitfield were the only two players at GWS that scored 100 plus. So I'm happy with with Green after last week's, score of 5. He bounced back well. Did a lot better than I thought he would, considering, he had a tough week last week. He's recovered well. And he was looking to be maybe a trade out after getting, subbed out of the game early. But look, he's actually bounced back well, and it was a great hold for owners. I mean, 116 is, not the best score, but considering the position that it was in last week, it's phenomenal, to be honest. And Graham didn't play, so that's another thing I want to talk about. It's not a huge deal. It's just for cash gen and just trading him and out to potentially another player who I'm thinking about bringing in. Because he was going to either looking to be traded out this week or next week. Should we trade him out this week? Because if he does get a game, he's still going to generate cash. But the problem is what Gold Coast got now. They got Geelong. So I'm not too sure what Gold Coast were doing. They arrested him against North Melbourne. And then playing next week against a tougher opponent in Geelong. I'm not too sure what Gold Coast are doing now, because he was actually doing all right, Graham. So I'm a bit, curious. I know they brought in Sexton back in, so if you hold on to him, you'll generate cash. It's a bit too late though. So that one's a bit mind-boggling what they're doing with him. If he plays next week, that'd be great. He'll be a hold, and we can generate at least another week more of cash. Then he may be a trade out next week, and we can either bring in a rookie, which I already got a full primo side for, or full primo midfield. I think ideally here, maybe like Matt Rao. Is there any other midfielders who I want other than Matt Rao? I'm not too sure. Maybe Petrarca potentially. An Oliver or a Seeking, but he's only performed well like once or twice this season. He's only got that really one good score on him this season. I like a little bit more. He may perform well in the second half, but he might be a good pickup for next season, I reckon. Then we've got Garcia, 65, so that's decent for his price point. So look, we'll have him as an emergency loophole. Well, not a loophole, but an emergency option for now. As long as he keeps his spot, we'll take that. And then man as a dead rookie. I don't think he's going to get selected. Although Geelong have lost a couple of games in a row. Will they rest, a few players? They got Gold Coast. Gold Coast is probably one of those sides a bit mediocre this year. They probably will. Probably not going to make too much changes, to be honest. I don't think they will. If he does play, if he ever does, he will generate a little bit of cash. I just hope he does play during the buys, but we'll just wait and see with that. And then onto the rucks. So there's maybe it's probably one of the biggest concerns this week. It's probably the only thing that really sort of went against me this round. Because you've gone 111, I was hoping for a 130, 140 score, or even a 150 against Carlton, because he usually performs well against Carlton, but Tom Connie did a pretty good job on him. Particularly early on. He did get a nice goal out of Ron Gorn, which almost, won Melbourne the game. So, look, we'll take that. It's not a huge deal. A lot of people were in the same position. He's not the highest average scoring player anymore after a poor couple of rounds. Still reckon he's still the number one ruckman. And then we've got Luke Jackson, 89. So I swapped him for Mead, and so I swapped Livingston with Jackson just to have that coverage. So this is what we really need to talk about. Sweet got managed, I believe, or just resting him against Geelong. Who do Paul got next week? Because they got Hawthorn, so they might bring him back in. We'll soon see if they do play Sweet again. Oh, that'd be alright. I'll just swap him there because he's still got money to make. Sweet, he's still got a negative break even. Swap him, and then put Jackson back on there, and then I'll take out one of the forwards here. So, 89 for Jackson's a bit disappointing. 3 weren't that great. Who do 3 got next week? Got St Kilda. It's Luke Ryan. It's tempted to put a captain on Luke Ryan. I might even take that gamble. Although you've got Merritt with North. There's quite a few good captain options next week. Got Butters against Hawthorn. Or Gawn against West Coast. It's going to be tough for a captain. Look, we'll just wait and see with the rucks. Ideally I want to upgrade to English. I'll probably just put down Jackson back in the 4 line and upgrade English. Or upgrade Sweet to an English later in the season. Probably after when Port have their bye, or Bulldogs have their bye. I'm thinking about doing that. Ideally I wanted to bring English in last week or a week ago. But I just thought, there's better value options out there just to make that money. I can. And then onto the 4 line here, you got Sanders 108, which good score from him. But I was hoping for a 120 plus against North Melbourne. But look, all the top coaches have him, so it's not going to impact my rankings too much, unless you have him as a sort of a captain pod, which would have been, logically speaking, would have been not a bad idea. But again, as an even spread performance with Gold Coast, I didn't want to take that risk with Flanders because he hasn't really gone that full bananas 150, 160 scores yet, and there's just more safer options out there. Now on to probably the worst performing player on my side by a fair bit this week, and that's Harley Reid. So he's performed pretty poorly the last couple of weeks. So look, he's going to have to be a trade out. So this makes my decision making a lot easier this week, trading him out. And I'll explain at the end of the video what I'm going to do with Reid. Use cash generation to draw it out. Now look, if you think you can make a top 6 forward or maybe a top 8 forward, you can hold on to him. I just don't think he will because he's not going to be that. He's not going to have those huge mega scores like some of these other key forwards or more consistent scores like some of these other forward midfielders. That's my major concern with Reid. Look, you can probably hold on to him a bit longer if you want. Maybe get some of these other players off, but I think the money's just dried up. With Reid, that one's a bit of a... Look, it's either a hold or a sell with Reid. Me personally, I'm going to probably get rid of Reid just to get some cash gen. And I'll explain what I'll do in a minute. And then you've got Wilson, who again has performed quite well last month. He's performed really well. And he's going to be a hold at the moment because he's still got a bit more cash generation to do. And then you got Tom Powell, 77. So not terrible, but he hasn't been great the last month. And I just don't think he's going to be that top 6 forward that we're going to be hoping for. He's still generated a bit of cash this season, but you probably need at least a 90, 95 at the bare minimum for the forward line. And he hasn't quite done that in the last couple of weeks. He did have that 30 score, so look, it's probably a bit too late to get rid of him now if you were planning to do that. He could potentially get rid of him out later in the season. He's one of the last players that I do, unless there's an injury or an absolute disaster game. Because it all depends if there's other DPP status with some of the other midfielders like a Prochaka sort of types. Because I just don't know who's going to any other premium midfielders are going to become, forward status. And it's just frustrating and irritating. Or was Merritt going to race forward, more often and come that, forward midfielder, which would be great for Supercoach because he'd become one of the high scoring, forwards. So I'm not too sure what's going to happen there. He did play forward the other week against West Coast, so that was like sort of a one-off. But then if you got Shield and Setterfield coming in, will Merritt spend more time forward? I'm not too sure. Considering we've got, North Melbourne and Richmond coming up. If we get, a huge lead early on, will they rest Merritt? Will we rest Merritt? And some of the younger players, have their time in the midfield. I'm not too sure there. And then you got Darcy and Garcia, which were great holds. And, the strategy they had, my risks, my gambles paid off this round. Like I thought, they're playing Richmond, and, they beat Richmond by 10 goals or more. It's highly likely they'll score a couple of goals and, dominate, or at least have a good game. And that's exactly what happened. So that risk paid off, having them on field. The decisions that I made there, paid off. It wasn't expected to be that. It didn't play off that well. But Garcia's actually done better than expected, to be honest with you. Bulldogs, who they've got next week, GWS, it's going to be a tough game. So I'll still hold Darcy now because he does have that 100 and assisted now. So he's probably going to generate cash for at least another 1 or 2 weeks. At least 1 week at the bare minimum. Garcia as well, I'll hold. Although I don't think he'll get 80 next week, to be honest. And then on to the bench, and Jones, 38. And he only really got up to 38 because of that one, 50-50 free kick. Didn't do much after that. So I'm not too sure if he's going to be dropped next week. He's made us some cash. Got rid of him for Coleman, and then Cobbin got 100, which is very frustrating. But it is what it is. I've got the cash, and I can use it elsewhere at my side. So that's it for this for all my players. Other than probably Reed, was probably the most disappointing. Could probably argue a Powell, even maybe a Merritt, I guess, as well, and probably a Martin and even a Sheasel. Could potentially done a bit better than what I wanted to, and even a Jackson. But a lot of people have these players, so it's not a huge deal. So this week, what I'm going to do is bring in, sort of swap in Garcia. Who do you think he would have got next week? They've got Freo. It's not going to be good for their forwards, though. Freo have a good defence. It's going to be absolutely shocking. Probably don't really want him on field, but then GWS have got Bulldogs. It's probably where I need to fix here. At 4 there. So what we're going to do here, bring in Sullivan. Now, because that's what I want to do now. If Sullivan is going to be selected, getting rid of Reed here. This is what I might do. Is it final? What's per minute? Got the internet has to be slow. Okay, and then I've got Sullivan. So if he's selected to play, that's 400k in the bank. Okay, yep, confirm. Happy with that. Now, what I want to do here, I need to bring in another premium this week. So what I could do here, I can either put Gray in there, then bring in either a Stewart or a Houston type, or even a McGrath or another premium defender. I don't want to have too many Essendon players in. I've already got 2 defenders as it is, and they've got Merritt now that I've brought in. So I'm just going to do that. I really want to bring in a Stewart because I don't have any Geelong players. I need to check probably the buy structure too, and then I may want to bring in Houston too because I do reckon he's going to be a top 6 defender. He's performed poorly or bit below standards the last couple of weeks. So either bring him this week or the next week, depending how things go as well. Who did Port got? Hawthorn might not be in defence as much. Hawthorn's done alright the last couple of weeks. So that's one player that I could do. Or I could, get rid of, a Powell and then bring in Heaney, which is what I might do. Do I want to do that? Not really. or I could bring in get rid of Darcy or Garcia. But since Darcy performs well, it's probably best to hold Darcy, because if Darcy had a poor game, against Richmond, he would have been, definitely traded to Heaney. But I have to bring in Heaney. I just don't know who to bring out of the 4 line, and the only player I can think of is Tom Power. But what if Tom Power, performs well again? If he gets 100 score, don't really want to be trading out there. But I want to bring Heaney in. Or should I take out one of these midfielders, or Graham to Heaney and swap, Garcia to Heaney there and have Garcia as another loophole option, or swap him. Because I don't have a midfield forward there. I'm not too sure what to do there, but then as well, that's another option I can do, because if I can get another premium on, I'll be already ahead of a pack, and a lot of people, have Heaney on, I don't. So behind the 8 ball there, that's probably one of the few things I need to improve on my side. Because other than the 4 lines, I really don't want to have Garcia there. Then should I have not trade ready and hold on to him? Because I do want he's not going to generate more cash. You just trade. So I trade out some of the other forwards. Who else going to trade out this week? I'm not too sure with the trades. All I know, if Sullivan's playing, he's a must trade in. Or should I get rid of Graham for Sullivan, and then upgrade, Heaney from, a Reed from there? I'm not too sure. What to do with the 4 line? That's the only issues over with Supercoach this year. It's just the 4 line primos. It's just, there's only probably 2 to 3 players or 4 players. You're definitely going to be in that top 6. Zorka is probably one of them, but he's old. He's 35 years old, and do you really can you trust him for another year? He is performing well this season, but will he miss a couple of games, either due to suspension or an injury, or have a shocking game? Still rather have him on field than a rookie, though, so keep that in mind. Do go with a carrot, Harry Mackay, Curnow, Caldwell, McRae, those sort of type of forwards. Either a forward midfielder or a key forward. It's just, key forwards just aren't going to be consistent. They're going to have a poor game. And that's just the bottom line is, or if a deep primo midfielder is going to become forward status, well, we just don't know. It doesn't look like it at this stage. I don't have that data. That's the only really concern I have just in general. It's just too hard with the 4 line this year. I'm thinking potentially making a gamble with McRae. I just think he surely will have a few good games coming up. But who knows with Bevo and what he's going to do with the side. And then should I take a gamble on Cardwell? But then you've got a lot of S in the midfield. There's a lot of B grade midfielders there. It's going to be tough to get full midfield minutes. Do I go with the Dylan Moore, which I wish I did a couple of weeks ago? He's at a lower price point at $4.20. That would have been a good decision if you made that a couple of weeks ago. And a few people have made those tough calls. Or should I go with Isaac Ranklin? Probably should have done a few weeks ago as well, because he's had a good game this week. That's what it is with Supercoach this season with 4 line. It's just, it's just frustrating. Because I know what I want in defence. I know what I want in midfield. I know those players. I just don't know the 4 line. Who do I want? No, I definitely need Heaney in. If he's not going to be my side this week, it will be probably next week. I do have Carlton next week, or this week coming up, so it's not going to be the easiest of games. So that's, it's just tough decisions. Would I have 400k in the bank? Mana, no, would it be enough if I get rid of Mana? I don't think. So I'm not too sure. Let me know what you think I should do. Definitely, bringing Sullivan in. Hold Wilson as well. And great week overall though. Best week I've ever had in Supercoach. To be honest, it's just phenomenal. There's a few things that not it wasn't perfect either. There's a few things that could have gone, like with the captain, and then captain could have gone a bit better, and a few other underperforming players like Sheasel, Martin, Reed as well, which all could have done better. But overall, I mean, heading in the right direction. I just need to make up my mind with a forward line, but a lot of other coaches have that issue as well. Probably, look, I'll just have to wait and see what I'm going to do. All depends who's going to be selected. Because if Graham gets played as well. Alright, that's enough talking. Thank you for watching.